Hello and welcome to episode 142 of the Foundry Roundtable, podcast exclusively covering the Foundry or Star Trek Online. And we're back, or at least me and Greendragoon are. We are back from Star Trek Las Vegas. Sadly, our co-host DuncanIdaho did not get to join us, but he's here with us as well to get the full report on the largest Star Trek convention in the world. And Mark is not able to join us tonight, but I'm sure we will be back very soon. So, Dragoon, first timer, going to Star Trek Las Vegas. What did you think?
Well, that's what you guys have been talking about for years. No, it was a lot of fun. It was bigger than I was used to for a of a Star Trek convention. Because I mean, I've been to a few, and I've even been to one Creation one, other than, and it was a fraction of the size of. They had the main auditorium, which was like huge. I mean, football field sized. Then they had a secondary normal sized auditorium. Then they had like the back at an area with Quark's bar, and then in the back they had yet another like small, more intimate lounge area that they could use as sort of a third auditorium. And then they had like the vendors room and the Star Trek Bridge recreation where they were doing photo ops and placed a whole place for autographs and place where they're doing photo ops, and then just in all the halls between it they had all of these set up things like Borg alcoves or a bit of a transporter or like a number of backdrops where you could take photos and whatnot. So it was really big.
And actually, a lot of that was not there 2 years ago when I went. So, and that was kind of a treat to see it, bigger and better for the 50th. The Guardian of Forever was, I think, like the one big backdrop, elaborate backdrop thing that they had 2 years ago. And it was out in the just right off the main rotunda. And this time they had the Borg alcoves, they had all the artwork going down all the way down the halls, and the whole gallery full of artwork and all of the stills behind the scenes stuff going down the hall, and the little Trouble with Tribbles thing that people could take pictures of, and would be remiss to not mention the Anton Yelchin Memorial.
Yes, which had like a picture of him, like a wall-sized picture of him, and then just like everybody could just walk up and write messages on it. So it was like completely covered, and
it was completely covered. It was completely covered by like the third day. So that was really nice to see. Solidarity from Star Trek. So I don't know, what was your favorite thing?
Well, I mean, I say this later in the interview, but I think my favorite part was just meeting all the people, because I mean, it as cool as it is to see all the actors, all the stuff to do, and all the things to see. Getting to just hang out with people that I've like talked with for years on Twitter, and I mean, just get to see them and just kind of get you all upgraded from internet friends to friends is just an incredible thing.
It is really kind of a different experience to finally meet people that you've really known for. So I mean, how long have you and I known each other? 4 years? Going on 4 years?
Oh, did we really know each other that much before Foundry Roundtable?
Hardly at all, I think.
Because yeah, I was still
I
so
think
much
I
author at the
had
time.
seen you. I had seen you posting around on the forums, I believe it was, and I was sort of trolling around to see who might be interested in starting a podcast, and went through several different people that I talked to, and then you were one of the names on my list.
So yeah, I know that we've been doing this podcast for about three and a half years.
Yeah, something like that.
So I guess I've known you for about that long.
Yeah, and finally got to meet last Wednesday.
And it is totally worth it to meet Zero and then just watch her and Johnny Snowball keep going on about Yorkshire accents.
That's the other thing, of course, because a lot of our, when you are part of an online community, you can be from anywhere. So we had Bazag and Woody Valley there from Australia. We had Johnny Snowball there from Great Britain. We had all kinds of people from the U.S., of course, and Zorbane, of course, there from Canada. And it is really just a great international thing.
Yeah, it was a funny thing because like a month before this, I was trying to get all the designs out for that Foundry T-shirt, so all the Foundry authors could wear the same T-shirt, and I had to track down like 4 or 5 different printers in different countries, so everybody could order shirts from their own countries.
Which we did. We all wore our shirts on Friday. I, of course, did the same thing I did last time. I ordered a whole bunch more, so I had one for every day. But everybody got their shirts and wore them on Friday. Sadly, we did not actually get around to doing a group picture. I'm kicking myself over, but
yeah,
that's all right. We still had fun, and we got to see the devs. Of course, they had a booth there every day. Unfortunately, their demo that they put together for the console version of Stowe was not working. Something wrong with what Zero said to me is that they didn't want to bring a full dev kit, so they brought an emulator, I guess, which emulates a console so that they could play it on PC, but that was not working.
Yeah, I think they said something about somebody forgot to update a file path that was referencing back to a cryptic server, which was not accessible in the current location.
It would not be. So what we did get to see, obviously we got to talk to them about it, and we did get to see a video of it playing around, which, obviously we've been looking at the, screenshots and things of the lighting system, which is kind of what we're most interested. And I did get to talk to Thomas a little bit about whether the lighting system would translate into the Foundry, and because part of it seems to be based on specific objects, and he wasn't sure if those would get updated, whether they're saved off separate copies of the game objects, like things that are baked onto our maps, whether those would actually get automatically updated if the regular in-game version does, which obviously we don't know for sure, so we'll have to wait and see when the day comes.
Oh, I mean, we have seen instances where the devs will update an asset in game, and that update translates into a object that we have.
Yes, we have. So I'm fairly confident. And then he also mentioned, or one of them mentioned anyway, that a lot of the different light sources, or some objects were becoming light sources, and I think we will see updates for that, which will be very fun.
I mean, I'm also still holding out hope that our light limit gets increased.
Yes. One thing I should mention before we keep going on this is that currently going on at the Television Critics Association is a panel on Star Trek Discovery, which everybody expects to reveal many things. Already what we're hearing is that the new series will have a female captain. So, interesting. Or possibly, it's just saying a female lead, but this may not be the captain. So who knows? But more details as they get posted. So let's see. Back to Star Trek Online from Star Trek Las Vegas. On Friday, I believe it was, they had the usual Meet the Devs party at the iBar, which is a bar right by the entrance of the Rio, which honestly is kind of a terrible venue. But,
yeah, it was a little loud.
I'm not sure where else.
And cramped.
It's very loud and very cramped. But I was able to corner Salami Inferno. I especially wanted to thank him for coming on the show. I guess that was quite a while back now. Can't remember if that
Yeah,
was
it was one of
earlier
our
this year or last year.
It was
anniversary shows.
pre-me.
Yeah. But it was definitely nice of him to come on the show. But I also got to talk to him a little bit about the Foundry. Apparently, he was the one who got the top 3 system put in.
Hmm.
And we can reveal to you now, we have it straight from the source, that there are over 100,000 missions. And I should correct myself because, of course, I was tweeting about grammar earlier. More than 100,000 missions. More than is the correct way to say that.
That's quite a lot.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That is a lot of missions.
Actually, asked him about what they were seeing as far as plays of the Foundry, and he said that it has gone up somewhat. Yeah, top 3 system. He said it's up to moderate now.
So we can say for sure now. I mean, obviously, we were kind of seeing that on our own missions that showed up in the top 3 system that they were getting more plays. But we can tell you that now overall, it is for certain that the top 3 system has resulted in more plays. I don't know what else did we talk to the devs about? Room?
Are the 2 big things.
Well, let's see. In that conversation, we kind of talked about Foundry as a whole, and he was saying that their goal was to maybe give us a little, at least something of an update with each major update to the game. He didn't quite say what that was. I bended his ear a little bit about the search interface.
Well, he did say that they've got a list of what things that they think are reasonably easy improvements to the Foundry.
Yeah.
Or features, or whatever you want to call it. So there is that. I mean, I'm personally not going to hold it to them that they're going to get out something like every update, because in fairness, schedules change constantly, and it's all very fluid. So
we know that the Foundry is one of the lower rungs on the totem pole. So
I just don't want to go see a bunch of authors run out to the forums after the next update. It's like, you didn't get us a Foundry feature, you promised. So,
Pax is noting that there are still a ton of systems that have empty top 3s, or just maybe 1 or 2 missions there. Which, yeah, he's absolutely right. It means that there are very few missions starting there. Which, hey, I see as an opportunity. If you find a system like that and it is a Foundry door, make a mission there. You probably get more plays.
Nimbus now has 1 mission.
It's probably yours.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, it's my last one. Yeah, I just corrected that, and in the future I'll be correcting Ferenginar, and yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously not as visited as often at higher levels, but it's still a hub that a lot of players visit.
Yeah, I occasionally go back there because it's one of the few. It's an open exploration environment which runs well on my computer.
And I'm also a big fan of the Nimbus zone. And if you figure out what level is the average players are going to go there and make a mission that is available at that level, there you go. Guaranteed plays.
Well, I put mine. It's level 16 plus, and I know you get the Nimbus missions around 20. So it's like, oh, okay, that works. The only problem is it's very much a continuation. So it's like, well, this isn't going to do as well as other things I could have made, but it's still interesting. I was like, okay, well, I performed a function.
I think that's one of the things we were talking about with some of the players at STLV was, do you have a favorite mission, something that you always play on a character no matter what? People were talking about and now I'm drawing a blank. Bonniekin.
Oh, What Lies Beneath.
What Lies Beneath, yes. Lots of people are talking about that, and mine is Nimbus. I always go and play it on every new character.
Oh, for me, it's Nimbus and the Solane Sphere.
Mm-hmm. Those are good missions.
I do like the ones with Tuvok and the Dyson Sphere.
Let's see what else. Oh, Colonel Obvious is asking if we asked questions about the console release. The questions that I recall being asked were, when is it coming out? And they did not want to say a release date yet, if indeed they even have one. But they're still shooting for the fall window.
Believe me, I tried
But
to get
beyond
them to
that,
tell me.
yeah. Beyond that, there really wasn't a lot to reveal as far as Stowe goes. I mean, the main thing that they're working on is console version, and we already know that. So that's where they were. That's probably why they didn't have a dev panel like they had at a lot of previous Star Trek Online conventions. One thing that they were doing that was fun is they were handing out Agents of Yesterday T-shirts for people who were in Stowe costumes. So Dragoon got one.
Yep, it goes along very nicely with my Delta Rising T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to collect a new Romulus T-shirt, and I'll have the trifecta.
I know Johnny Snowball was in a Odyssey uniform, and your brother, of course, was in an Odyssey uniform, and also Rogue Enterprise, who probably already had an Agents of Yesterday's T-shirt, but I don't. I was really pretty funny to see. Actually, there were quite a number of people in good Stowe uniforms. I saw, some of the old Sierras, some of the veteran jacket, Starfleet jacket. That was a good one, and there was a Kobali.
Yes, there was this really awesome lady dressed up as a Kabali science officer. So she kind of had a cap on to do the Kabali bald head. Then she had an Odyssey uniform, but on top of that, she had the Kabali shoulder pads, arms, and bracers. And so that was really awesome. Mm-hmm. She obviously put a lot of effort into that.
Yeah, you guys tweeted a picture of that, and that one, I think that one was probably sort of the most like, holy crap.
Yeah, I mean, definitely ambitious.
Yeah.
Dragoon had this little project he was working on to take pictures of any Stowe outfits he saw. So, you know how many people you caught?
I caught a couple of more after I posted that. I'd probably say in total, there's maybe a dozen people, Stowe uniforms that I saw.
Yeah. So one of the other, I mean, that is one of the fun things about a Star Trek convention is meeting people that you haven't met before, because you're all there. You all have something in common already, like that. There's other Stowe players there that you haven't ever met in real life, or people who are not, because obviously there are a bunch of Foundry authors there. There's lots of other players there that weren't, and other podcasters too. Obviously, Luke Critter was there. He's not a podcaster, but a blogger. Timberwolf was there, and some of the guys from the Pilot Review Show. Priority One was there, of course, and Trek Radio was there. All kinds of people. So there was lots of cool people to meet, and G&T show, of course, and just random people as well. I think I am not one of those people who strike up a conversation with random strangers. That's not a talent that I have. But I think I talked to people around me in every single line that I was in, and I was in a lot of lines throughout the convention, because that's what you do. You stand in line, and I think I talked to somebody every time. You could just talk to people around there, because it doesn't matter what they looked like, doesn't matter who they were, what gender, what race, what religion, what sexual orientation. You were all there because you had something in common. You love Star Trek, and so it was just so easy to talk to random people, and that I think was probably my favorite thing. And Whoopi Goldberg.
And thus the Federation is born.
Yes, and I think, just to get on my soapbox for half a second, I think the whole world could learn a thing or two, Star Trek fans.
Except for that complaining about everything part. Don't learn anything from.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, because the kind of people that go to Star Trek conventions are not the kind of people who are complaining about it. That's what I was complaining about this morning.
That did not stop one person from talking my ear off about Axonar.
Ooh.
All right, we'll complain about a few. But, generally speaking.
Luckily, I didn't have an opinion on the subject.
Yeah. It was also kind of funny because, obviously the big part of the convention is going to see the actors. And I mentioned to a couple of them that I was a Star Trek Online player and I really liked their voiceovers. I said that to Denise Crosby, and she got real excited. And we said that to you and I did, Dragoon, Garrett Wong, and he got real excited. So they like being on Stowe. So that part's fun. And then, of course, obviously when they get all up on stage, and especially when there's multiple ones, like the Enterprise panel, the guys were having a lot of fun. And the one of the Deep Space Nine panels, too.
I was taking a look at those pictures today, and it seems like it was during the Voyager panel that someone broke Garrett Wang.
Oh, yeah, Voyager panel. Those guys must have had like the most fun set because they were all cracking each other up. I think they were doing impressions. A bunch of them were doing impressions of Robert Picardo, including Garrett Wang, and Picardo was taking pictures of them all as they did it. And then who was it? Robert Beltran was doing an impression of Bob Dole, which is really funny. Especially because I've actually met Bob Dole, and he's just a perfect impression of him. So yeah, I mean it's just a lot of fun. And one of the projects that we were doing there, Dragoon was taking the lead on it. I only helped out just a tiny bit. Is we wanted to do interviews with as many Stowe-related people as we could find. So, Dragoon, if you want to get that started.
Sure thing.
Hello and welcome to the Foundry Roundtable's live segments from STLV. Obviously, we are here in the Rio in Las Vegas. We are standing right outside the Vendors Hall currently, and Greendragoon is doing a project to do interviews with Foundry authors, possibly some devs, possibly some of the other Stowe players that we find around here. So hopefully you will enjoy what everybody has to say.
I am hopefully Johnny Snowball on Star Trek Online and Foundry author.
I'm Captain B.F. Dennis. Name's Paul Dennis. From Rhode Island.
I am Drogyn1701. I'm the creator and co-host of the Foundry Roundtable podcast, as well as a longtime Foundry author and Stowe player.
My name is Ross Bullock. I am Live Love Play, www.iliveloveplay.com. Also on Facebook and Twitter as Live Love Play. Part of Busy Little Beaver Productions, which is the parents production group for the G&T show, which is where we are right now.
Hi, I'm Bazag, Foundry author, Australian, fan fiction writer and independent author of one book.
My name is Nick Duguid. I am a developer on Star Trek Online. I'm often known as Taco Fangs. Before that, I was known as Tumor Boy.
Hi, I'm Tony Hunter, former host of Priority One and current host of Guard Frequency podcast.
I'm known as Timberwolf on YouTube, Twitter, everything else. Been around for about a year and a half, which is kind of crazy. In a year and a half, I'm here. Do Star Trek Online podcast, try to do Star Trek topic discussions. Right now I'm with Pilot Review Show. We've got our booth set up here. And it's all about discussions, budget builds, get better at the game, have fun with the game. So, I mean, that's me in a nutshell, I guess.
My name is Fleet Admiral Winters. I'm the Fleet Admiral for Starfleet Task Force 1. We have our own armada from Starfleet Task Force 1 Alpha right through to Zeta. We have Klingon fleets as well, the House of Martok. I'm also the Chief Audio Engineer for Priority One Podcast and also one of the producers for Priority One Podcast.
I'm Terry Lynn. I'm the co-host of the G&T show here. This is our booth at Star Trek Las Vegas, but we're a Star Trek focused podcast. We discuss all forms of Star Trek storytelling, including the games.
I call myself Woody Valley in Star Trek Online, mostly because my first name is Glenn, which is Gaelic for Woody Valley, or Forest Valley or something like that. Very Celtic.
My name is Thomas Maroney. I go by Thomas the Cat on Reddit and Twitter. My official Twitter handle is cryptic_TTC. I am a artist on Star Trek Online. I do both user interface and 3D starship art.
I am Teacher Kirby. My real name is Kathy, but I go by Teacher Kirby in game. I'm with the Pilot Review Show. I also have my own YouTube channel. I do the Teacher's Corner videos on that. I like to help people in game improve their game, get better at what they're doing, and that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I'm a teacher at heart.
My handle's Rogue Enterprise. I'm an STO player and Foundry author.
I am Greendragoon. I've been playing the game for a very long time and doing the Foundry for a medium amount of time. I'm a co-host on the Foundry Roundtable.
I actually, for a couple of years, I saw the banner on, I can't remember what I was playing, but for some reason I avoided it because I imagined it was kind of an Armada thing, where you had to organise your fleets, and that was never for me. I was always somebody who liked feet on the ground, get into the action. And somebody actually got me into gaming again. I'd been out of it for like 10 years. And my first day I spent in Stowe, I spent like 10 hours just creating a character. It was just awesome. And then flying around going to Vulcan. So I guess I probably came into Stowe just before Legacy of Romulus hit, which made it even better because that was beautiful.
I've been a Stowe player, Star Trek Online, for 6 years now, and an avid Foundry author.
I have been playing Stowe since open beta. It started with an extremely laggy couple of first days, and then finally they got everything sorted out and had a really good open beta experience.
I played Stowe since launch, since, was it 2010? Yeah, since 2010. Played since launch and all the way through to Agents of Yesterday.
I have played Star Trek Online since the second update, season 1.1. I think it's first actually, and have around 12 characters, all various, usually between 50 and 60, but most of them in that range.
I've played Stowe since before it ever came out. Not even pre-beta, but pre-alpha. I've been working on Stowe since 2012. I was on Champions Online before that, and various things before that. And then it got moved to Stowe.
I don't think I was in the beta, but I signed up pretty much right after it came out.
I've been in for close to 2.5 years now, but I've only been a subscriber by the counter for 700 days because I just got that reward 2 days ago.
I've been playing Stowe for about 4 years, roughly, give or take.
Since launch, I bought my first gaming laptop because I read the announcement that Star Trek Online was going out. I subsequently got the job as the massively writer for AOL to cover Star Trek Online, and then I worked for them for 2.5 years before they folded massively, but I've been doing the podcast for the past 6 years.
I've been playing Stowe since January of 2011, so it's been like a good 5.5 years now.
I've played Stowe since closed beta, basically, before I started working for Cryptic. I was I still am a huge Star Trek fan, and so when I found out that Star Trek Online was going to be a real thing, I actually bought the Champions Lifetime subscription so I could get access to the STO closed beta, and then of course had to buy an STO Lifetime subscription for that. So I started working in Cryptic about a year after STO launched.
Going on 5 years, I think. It was right before it went free to play. Because I remember my husband and I paid for a month, each of us, and then the lifetime subs went on sale. You had to pay for a month back then. And so our lifetime subs went on sale, so we bought lifetime subs, and then it went free to play like a couple months later. I remember that. So it's been quite a while. I don't remember exact dates, because I didn't memorialize it like this was going to be a big thing. But yeah, so it's been a long time.
Since closed beta, it's a long time.
Since open beta, I actually heard about it like a year before that. They'd kind of started up the forum, so I quick joined, but it was like nowhere near beta. And so I kind of went off, and I think I ended up going and playing Lord of the Rings online or something. And then I forgot about it. And then like 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks of open beta is like, I think they sent out an email, or I saw somebody posting about it. It's like, oh shoot, that's a thing. And so I quick rushed over to like play in like the last week of open beta. Absolutely loved it. I mean, even back in the early forum back then, it just felt so good to kind of like be able to play a captain and like really immerse yourself in the universe.
That was pretty much straight after I joined. I discovered missions like Syndicate Extraction and Mains of Balnar Moon, and they were just beautiful. And I thought, wow, you can really do this stuff. And I actually played those missions on repeat to get the dilithium so I could get the Foundry slots. So as soon as I got in, I was pretty much in the Foundry.
Well, my first experience with the Foundry was back in early 2011 when Foundry had not yet gone live to holodeck. It was on the Trivial test server. And I made 2 missions, a Federation and the Klingon mission. And as soon as holodeck went live, I transferred those 2 over, and my Klingon mission actually was chosen as a spotlight after that. So I was pretty excited right out of the gate.
I had kind of quit Stowe for a little bit, a couple of months, and then I saw it on either the website or the forums, and I thought to myself, you know, this is something cool. This is going to bring me back to Stowe. And I have stayed ever since.
I was very excited for the Foundry. I followed the development leading to the release of the Foundry. I tested a couple maps, eventually releasing my first mission, The Lost Fleet of the Valkyrie Episode 1 Relapse. It took me about 3 weeks to create. That includes writing, map building, character creation, and so on. I did, and it was all done in a Starbucks.
My first encounter would have been the missions that were published on holodeck from Tribble. There was 3, Syndicate Extraction. That's the only one I can actually remember, but they were all published. Yeah, and then Rogue's one, First Cause Then Effect. I think they were the 3, and they were published by Q. But that was really my first interaction with the Foundry, and we started soon after that playing in Tribble myself on the Foundry and created my very first mission in there.
Well, I guess, I mean, again, development, right? Early on when we were working on it and deciding what to do, and they had this system that they wanted to make, you know, to allow players to build things themselves and grand visions, and you know, we end up with what we have, but yeah, early development, I guess.
When they first announced that they were going to do something like it, I was on pins and needles. I loaded it up the first opportunity I had, and I messed with it immediately.
And as much as I love the Foundry now, my first encounter was actually a Ludomatic, where you're just grinding out gear so you can sell it. That was absolutely my first encounter with it before I started getting into the stories.
My first encounter with the Foundry was a mission that I heard about called, I think, Admiral Bobo Goes to War. I heard that was a really, really funny mission, and yeah, just, you know, I heard a lot of people talking about it, and they said it was really good, and I tried it out, and it was a real hoot. That was actually my first encounter with the Foundry.
Yeah, I would have to say it would have to be one of P.F. Dennis's first missions when we were doing podcast UGC. I was one of the co-hosts for that podcast that focused on Foundry and Foundry building, and I still kind of miss it. I really do. It was a great team, and we used to get into at least 10 or 12 Foundry missions a week. It was fun. And then I remember when Foundry Roundtable started, and it was just nice to see that we were talking about Star Trek storytelling, you know, which is my passion, is telling a great character-based story, and being able to see such a creative tool for a video game. I mean, I'd never heard of anything like it before.
I did play about 6 months into playing the game. I actually started into the Foundry. I made a mission, thinking running plays, venturing into getting red tags, or something or other. I haven't figured it out yet. I have to sit down and have a look at it and see what I can do. But eventually I just moved on to making some other Foundry missions and seemed to do pretty well with it, except for spelling and grammar, which always seemed to be an issue with me. But other than that, yeah, doing pretty well.
Hearing about it, because it was actually being developed while I was at Cryptic. It was after I had started, and I was working on the web team at the time, doing graphic design for web art. And one of the things I pitched that we never had the time to do, and this might break your guys' heart, but I always thought it would have been cool to have an online mission index that pulled data from the game, so that you could see like Foundry missions and rate them. Because I figured, like, if people are bored at work and they're like, oh, what am I going to play tonight when I get home? Like, it would have been awesome to have a website with all the missions and be able to like actually add those to your mission journal from the website. So when you go home at the end of the day, you can go like open your mission journal and then play that thing. So that was like during kind of the beginning of the Foundry's marketing ramp up cycle. I actually did. I think one of my first projects, maybe for STO as a web designer, was working on the Foundry marketing website, like coding that into CSS and HTML. So some of the stuff that I suggested, we ended up doing a little bit with Gateway, but we've kind of stopped doing development for Gateway. But I think that would have been a really cool feature.
First encounter with the Foundry, oh gosh. I think it was those little missions where you could get dilithium pretty well. I did play, the looting missions too. I played a few of those. And I did play a couple, one of my friends actually did a story type of mission once. And I played through that. It was very much like a normal episode. I haven't done much in the Foundry, but that's pretty much my Foundry experience in a nutshell.
I remember when the Foundry was first launching, and I decided to try and put together a quick mission, and my quick mission took me like 10 hours to make. It was ridiculous, but it was amazing, so that's why I keep doing it now.
I saw all the hype when it was first launched, and I thought, oh, this would be a cool thing, but I mean, I don't really have any good ideas, and I don't really see myself creating missions like that. Although I did start watching the old podcast, UGC podcast. So I followed that for about a year. And then I had a period in my life where I was out of a job, and so I had all this extra time. And I did not just want to sit around and not do anything. So I said, okay, I have been saying for years that I will go try the Foundry. And so I finally did, and it just started with me messing around with a map. And so I created this like wall structure, and it's like, oh, that kind of looks like the saucer of a starship. And so I kind of put around some ramps to kind of form the saucer and started building this like crashed starship on the ship, and that ended up kind of becoming the core idea for my first mission for in the Shadow of Midas.
Yeah, it's got to be Mains of Balnar Moon. The atmosphere in that was just fantastic. When I first landed on the moon, I felt like I was on LV-426 with the whole atmosphere. It was just great. It really inspired me, did Alimac, to do things not just with the assets that you have, but to take the assets and look at them differently and use them for so many different things. It was great.
I think Paul Marie, Alimac's mission, has always been like a benchmark for me because of his map building.
I'd have to say my favorite Foundry mission is probably one of Johnny Snowball's. Johnny Snowball is, of course, asking me the questions right now, so he's laughing. And unfortunately, the name escapes me, but it was one of the probably most recent ones that I actually gave 5 stars to was one of Johnny Snowball's. So it's definitely a great author to check out.
There are so many. It's hard to really pick out one. It's hard also not to be biased by my own. But I enjoyed the Foundry featured series. That kind of collaborative effort between authors to create something really big and really fun like that and put together. And to see how different authors have different takes on the story. where at one moment everything is flowing a stream of consciousness, and then you get to Paul's mission, and suddenly you have a narrator out of nowhere. I thought that was really fun.
There's just a lot of really good missions there. I would have to probably... It is a very close tie with a couple of LMAC 30 missions. The Mains of Balnar Moon or City of the Polmari. But I think I might have to give the edge to... I'm switching between... Mains. I'll give it to the Balnar Moon.
I don't offhand. I haven't played any of the new ones in a while, so I don't even know names. I suck at names, even of like episodes of Star Trek. I know the one where that one thing happened, but I can't tell you the name of anything, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's this one. Actually, it's a series of about 6 of them. They're really awesome. Overture, Overture. They're pretty good. You ought to check them out. Not bad. Pretty snarky. A lot of fun. You got to give it a shot.
I've already harped about this multiple times on social media. Trouble in Paradise. By far, by PAX. PAX Federica did an amazing job of the Iconian War on Ryza. I will never harp that enough, honestly.
I'd probably have to say same mission. But I've heard this other really good one called Overture. It's pretty good. You should check it out. Anyone that's interested in the Foundry, it's pretty good.
Still got to be Polmari. I just can't help myself. Ali's old Polmari. I don't think it's fixed yet. I think it's still kind of broken. But if it was ever to be fixed again, I'd probably play the hell out of it again.
I don't really seem to show very much in the way of favoritism with Foundry authors. You know, well, they all bring their own individuality into the Foundry, and there's people at different levels. So I don't show any bias towards any Foundry authors. They'll, in one way, do a good job in one way or another. So leave it at that.
I wish I could remember the name of it, but there was a really cool mission where you were, it felt like Murder on the Orient Express, sort of, but the villain ended up being like a holographic programmer, and it was just really well done, because you walk around, interview all the key players, and then it was cool the way they used the holodeck as kind of this Inception sort of thing, and it was kind of creepy and a great mystery. That's the one that's really stuck out to me that I really liked. If somebody remembers the name, tell me, because I'd like to play it again.
I did do this one. It's not a full mission, but it's a cute little thing. It's called ESD Float. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a very simple thing. You go up on ESD in the exchange, and you click this button, and it's like they turn off gravity. And you float there, and it's just I don't know why, but it's the coolest thing in the world. I just love it.
I like all Captain Revo's stuff. I don't know if he still makes missions, but all of his missions are amazing. I highly recommend it.
It's got to be Mains of Balnar Moon from Alimac. That is probably the mission that I played, and it said, okay, the Foundry is capable of so much more. Great mission. I hope it still was up.
I do, if I can remember them. Shore Leave Under Siege. I'm partway through a Viper series. I did Blast to the Past Saving Gideon, which was time travel back to the TOS area. What else did I do? I redid the Divide Impera Redux. I tried to make it a bit more, interesting if I could. And I can't remember if I've done any others right now.
I'll list the series first. There's the Starbase UGC series that I wrote. One of them was Purity, the other Photonomy, but they were each done by different authors. But my own missions, Chronotons and Klingons, was my first, and I still think generally one of the best theme-wise. But Remains of the Daemon is another one that seems to be pretty popular.
I have probably about 15 at any given time, 12 to 15. My initial missions that I made, my first ones are not actually published at the moment, so eventually I'll get around to those, but I have quite a few.
I have 4 published missions. I mentioned the Lost Fleet of the Valkyrie, the Alexandria Incident, Sisyphean Ordeal. There's one more, but I'm blanking on what it is. It's been that long. I have 4 missions. I can't remember the name.
I've published a total of 13 Foundry missions for both Klingon and Federation, so I will probably skip a few because I simply won't remember to name them all. But a few highlights. Purity 2 of Thought and Photonomy 5 Hidden in Shadows, part of a Starbase UGC series. My very first mission was Starfleet Exploration. That was my very first one. Hidden Intelligence. I've got a Wibbly Wobbly Timey Wimey, a Doctor Who reference involving time, but actually it features no Doctor Who at all. I've got Mind Games, which is a Klingon Federation, Klingon one. More than just missing another Federation one. I've got, a fair amount that I'm just going to leave it there for now.
I guess, I don't think of things so much by missions as I do by maps, like which map did I work on or whatever, right? So I really liked working on New Romulus and all of the stuff that happened there, so we did a lot of missions there, and I guess any of those could be a favorite. I really like working on Earth Space Dock, even though there's no missions necessarily that relate there, but yeah. My view is a little bit skewed from Foundry, I think.
Yes, I do. It's Overture, O-V-E-E-R-T. Everyone should play these missions, but you should play them with like a bowl of popcorn and a drink because it's a lot of reading.
The Red Table mission, the first one was actually called Collective Voice of Freedom. That's it. Then I moved on to making Floods at Home Part 1 and Part 2. Then I went and made Katra, and Katra continued. Then I made a Klingon mission called Honor in Delivery. Then I've just recently pushed a mission out a couple of weeks ago called Beautiful.
Well, I made all of the costumes for the dead Starfleet officers in Vorgon Conclusions.
That totally counts. I remember.
Well, there was a bug that I filed while doing an internal playtest where it's like, you meet the live characters and they're in the proper DS9 like First Contact era uniforms, but all the people who are dead are in like regular. They're just pulling from the regular Odyssey uniform critter group. So I made a bunch of outfits for that. A lot of the stuff that I do as a ship artist comes out, in NPC ships and things like that, but it's usually not done for a specific mission.
I have like 8 or 10 missions, but my spotlights are First Cause and Effect on Fed side and Hair of the Empire on KDF and a bunch of other stuff.
I have 3 published missions right now, not counting the ones that we did for like tests and whatnot for the Foundry Roundtable. That is In the Shadow minus parts 1 and 2, and I promise one of these days I will get part 3 out. As well as EVA Resolutions, which was my entry for the New Year's Eve Foundry Challenge, which ended up tying with Hippie John's The Chimes of Midnight. And so they were Fed and KDF, and so we ended up going with a both one sort of scenario. And so I got the Fed spotlight, and he got the KDF spotlight.
Well, for me, as a creative person, I always did fan fiction and everything. And I've always been more interested in the audio-visual experience than just reading. So when I discovered the Foundry, it was like a perfect medium for the creative outlet. And I've pretty much spent my entire time in there since. It's a bit sad.
What the Foundry means to Stowe, I think it's hard to say. For Stowe in general, I think it's a smaller community, but I think it's an important one. Between official content, the only way you can play new content is to play Foundry missions. And even though the Foundry community is smaller, it provides that content in between official releases. So I think, to me it's very important. But I'm not sure that the majority of the players who play STO take advantage of that. I wish they would.
The Foundry is a way to extend the game past everything the devs can provide, and also provide a creative outlet for Star Trek Online players. A creative outlet that you just don't get in most MMOs. Though there's almost no mission creation tools for massively multiplayer games out there because they are such closed systems. It's not like single player games where you can do modding and create your own things like that.
The Foundry gets players involved in a unique way. It allows creative minds to help make a piece of Star Trek Online and Star Trek in general their own. It allows them to really immerse themselves in Star Trek and tell their story in a unique way. And then there's grinding missions.
I think the Foundry is a way for people to get involved and interacted with Star Trek Online in a completely different way. For authors, it's a way for us to create and connect with STO more. It's a way to invest in Star Trek Online for us authors, and for players, it's a way to be able to choose what kind of missions you want to play. How do you want to do a space exploration? Do you want to do ground? Do you want to just shoot them up? Or there is a variety of things you can do in the Foundry pretty much you've got more choice in the Foundry than the cryptic generated missions.
I think that it's an important resource, and I'm glad that we have it. I think that, the authors are fantastic. I'm constantly blown away with the amount and type of things that they can come up with, given the incredibly limited resources that they have, right? The constraints that they have, the tools that they have, and they're still dedicated enough to just, come up with things that I've never considered. Somebody made, shortly after I added all of the Earth Space Dock stuff, someone made a hallway using console, like the legs under the console, to line a hallway to make it look different than it looked before, and it just things that I don't think about, I guess, or don't come up with. The creativity is amazing.
Star Trek has one of the most active sort of fanfic and fandom communities, and so much creativity, whether it's costumes or props, all that kind of stuff. It's just another outlet for people to sort of own their own piece of Star Trek and share it with everybody all at the same time.
It's not just an extension of the storyline. They have great extensions. They've answered plot holes in the Foundry. It's also a good release. There are really good writers out there that they have now a physical and visual representation of what they might have been writing or thinking about for years. So it means a lot to STO. They have a release. They can have their dream in a video game that people can play through. I think if you didn't have the Foundry, you wouldn't have as passionate of a player base as you do today.
The nature of the beast for Star Trek Online is that Cryptic, realistically, they cannot make or create content quick enough. It's consumed far too quickly. So I think that the Foundry is a great source of content for players in between season releases. Anyone that really gets into it, you genuinely can find some really, really good Foundry missions there. And some of them are really funny, some of them have great story, and it can be a great stopgap measure in between. There are some fantastic authors out there, I really think so. And they deserve to see their story being told, and I think that's probably what I think.
I think the Foundry is an incredibly important tool for Star Trek Online. And the reason why is because it gives Star Trek fans that we all know love to use the universe, and now multiple universes, as their creative outlet, as a way to express themselves and the stories through the characters that we all know and love so much. And what's great is Star Trek Online allows you to create new amazing characters from the Klingons, the Romulans, or even any Federation species, and allows you to create tales about them and allows other players to experience what that is, or even a Foundry mission that allows the player to do something that isn't necessarily through the timeline that was created for us by Cryptic. I'm hoping to see the Foundry expand in the future. I like the way that it has the kind of natural progression, and we now get to kind of see Foundry missions pop up as we go through Patrol now. I really like that, but I'd still like to see a more critical use tool for finding Foundry missions, using search tools and more native search tools that allow us to find stories that we want to play as individuals. Less pew-pew, I know that there's a search tool in there, but to be honest with you, it's hard to find. It's not natural. I would like to see something much more integrated into the game.
It means quite a lot. I wish it could be like promoted a little bit more better than what it is now. Especially from devs that say, "Oh, it's great what we see coming out of the Foundry and stuff like that," but they never seem to take it further, So it does show some importance into Star Trek Online. I wish it could sort of be brought back to the surface a bit more.
The Foundry is a way for STO players to kind of exercise, their own creative talents, and obviously it adds a lot of value to the game for players to look at these hundreds or thousands of missions that we can experience. The top 3 thing in the Foundry is really, people talk about exploration, adding exploration in the game. Why not just fly around and play some of those top 3 Foundry missions? If you fly up to a star, you'll see a list of those missions, and I think it makes the Star Trek Online universe a lot bigger than just the Cryptic made missions. And not to say that we don't want to do another exploration system in the future, but there is a lot to explore in STO, and a lot of those come from Foundry authors.
I think it's important for the fans to be able to go in and make their own stories, because then they can experience content that they want instead of having to rely solely on the devs to create the content. So it expands it a lot, and I think the Foundry has kept, in that aspect, a lot of people in the game. It gives people a creative outlet, lets them expand the story the way they want, and gives people new experiences.
Foundry is like a good creative outlet for authors at least, and then players looking for different stuff. Like say they burned through all the original content, they want to play something new and exciting, or just different. It's a good outlet for those types of players.
I think the Foundry, in addition, so the devs can only put out so much content, and I know there's a lot of people that wish that there was more to play in the game, and the Foundry is the solution to that. I know a lot of people are kind of iffy, it might be fan fiction-ish, but there are a lot of good missions out there, and it's just it's really incredible just to see some of the things that come out of it. And I think in the end, when STO is old MMO and it can no longer bring in the income to really push any heavy development, I think the Foundry is what will keep STO alive. So it's a retirement plan for STO.
Oh man, it's overwhelming. Apart from seeing amazing people like Whoopi Goldberg, who I've known my entire life from TV and movies, but I think the best thing is, like I said to Thomas, it's all about the STO, no tribbles. So it was meeting everybody from the Foundry community and Star Trek Online and the podcasts and everything. It's just great to see everybody and put names to faces and actually get to hang out.
The best part of SDLV for me, especially the 50th anniversary, is just meeting people that I talk to and never have met. And actually, I've been about 4 times, so I've seen a lot of the panels and heard a lot of the celebrities speak. So to me, the highlight is to meet and to spend time with people that I don't normally get to see, but people that I talk to on a normal basis. You know, the people makes it worthwhile.
The Whoopi Goldberg panel yesterday was fantastic. She is just a hilarious person and an inspiring person, and you know, beyond that, obviously meeting the other Foundry authors, some of whom I've met before, some of whom I'm meeting for the first time, and you know, just the whole atmosphere of being in a place where there's thousands of people who like the same thing that you like. That's just fantastic. You almost don't get that anywhere else.
Just being here, meeting people, reconnecting with old friends, making new friends, and having a wonderful, terrible, exciting, exhausting, hellish, and beautiful time.
It's a bit of a blur in my mind at the moment. There's so much going on, meeting so many people. I think the one thing that stands out, I guess, apart from meeting with everyone, which I think is a pretty much stock standard response, is actually the MAC Cosmetics booth. I just like wandering around there because there's like these little stages on there, and even though I'm not getting makeup, I don't have makeup on. Surprising. Perhaps not. Perhaps it actually is totally expected. But no, there's got a lot of effort gone into the booth, and a lot of events happening, and it just looks really amazing. And the staff they've got there also really really look good, and they're playing their parts well. So that is the one thing that stands out for me this year.
Whoopi was amazing. That was fantastic. She was great. I'm glad that she finally came to a convention. I'm glad it was the 50th. If she's going to choose one to come to, that's fantastic. She seemed like she was having a genuinely great time. I hope she comes back, because she was fantastic.
Meeting just all random people, doing what we do, we get to talk to folks. People open up when they stick a microphone in front of their face, and that's always kind of a fun experience.
Every damn thing. It has been amazing. We've had interviews here. I've gotten to meet with the devs of Star Trek Online. I've gotten to meet with you guys from the Foundry Roundtable, which that in itself has been great. It has just been an honor to be able to meet everybody, meet Stowe players, and be here. I mean, you can't beat being here, honestly. So, I mean, it's all of it. You can't really pick a single part of it. It's just all amazing.
For sure, it has been the people, meeting the people. I've been here since last Friday, and I've met so many people from all corners of the world. I've met people that I've, obviously never seen before, but you get talking to them, and Star Trek is like an icebreaker, and once you get talking to them, it's like you've known them for 10 years, That is definitely, without a doubt, been my highlight for STLV.
Oh my God, the people. How can you, I mean, seriously, as much as I come here to kind of pitch our show and to be with the authors that we have here and everything, it's people like Greendragoon and Drogyn and PF Dennis and everybody, and Ali Mac and everybody else who comes through here and just gives me a hug, and we get to reconnect and we get to know each other as friends. And it's really amazing to be able to say, I met you through a game. I met you through a video game. And where a lot of us get harassed because technology is seen as, you see people, we get made fun of because we're on our phones a lot or something like that, and they say, you're not paying attention to your world and you're not being social. We as Star Trek Online players know that's not the truth. And we get to experience the physical reconnection with people that we've met online, and you can't beat that.
Just being here for starters, it's been a bit of a long plan in doing this. I've been saving up for like 3 years, planning for it, and stuff like that. So it has been an easy journey, but just being here is a good thing. Meet everyone I've pretty much met in Star Trek Online and whatnot, plus on TV.
Honestly, this is my 6th Star Trek Online convention, or not Star Trek Online, but like STLV. And what I get the most out of is interacting with other fans. Like, it's fun to see the celebrities and everything, and it's cool. Like, it's like last year I shared an elevator with Anthony Montgomery. That's Travis. No, not Travers. Yeah, Travis. Yeah. Anyway, that was amazing. That was a really cool experience. But really, I just like getting to working the STO booth and meeting the players on STO and just experiencing like the Star Trek family. It's a really cool thing.
Meeting all the people. I have been around so much just talking to people and meeting people, and I mean, how cool is it? Not only have I gotten autographs out the wazoo, but I have gotten to do interviews with 3 cast members from Voyager, and there's more to come. That's just been awesome. This is my first ever convention, so who could ask for more? Not to mention I get to meet up with my friends.
I'd say my favorite part, I took my wife to see, to take a photo op with Scott Bakula, and she basically melts at the sight of any of these guys, so being able to walk right up to Scott Bakula and be like, I'm done, and then watch her take that photo with them, that was probably the best part.
Definitely has to be meeting all the people. I mean, I kind of was joking earlier that it feels like my Twitter feed came to life and met up with me. It's just like seeing all the people that I know by Twitter handle or by in-game handle, just seeing them as real people and that you go hang out with, and they're just as much fun to be with in real life as they are on Twitter. Like meeting devs for one, and then kind of just get out and realize that, the devs are just normal people that just hang out, go to a bar, do normal things. Okay, and I hope you guys all enjoyed that. It was kind of my goal in shooting all of these to kind of give you an idea of what it's kind of like to be there, because I mean, I know a lot of people couldn't go, but I mean, and I've certainly been that person who's had to stay behind and hear about all the cool things, so I hope you all enjoyed it.
As someone who had to stay behind and wasn't able to see any of that, it's really, really appreciated. That was a really good view on what you guys had going down there. So that was fantastic.
And all the props go to Dragoon. He did the vast majority of the interviews. I think I only helped him out once because I was always off doing other things. So that's all him and the editing and graphics and everything. So it was really just fantastic. It brought to mind a couple of things as I was watching, because of course I was just watching this for the first time. So it was fun to hear Thomas mention that he would have liked to do some kind of online database, web-based database for Foundry missions, because we're actually working on one right now, spearheaded by Zorbane himself. It doesn't pull from game data, which would be totally awesome if it could, but it relies on us to put our missions in there, which I was actually doing last night while I was uploading my massive gallery of pictures from STLV. So foundrymissions.com, a plug for that. So go add your missions and help us promote it to anybody who asks for Foundry recommendations. Give them that link.
Yeah, I've already added all of my stuff on there, and it's worth noting too is that in addition to the mission listings, you can also upload screenshots. Yes. So as someone browsing those, it's also a good visual interface. In addition to how they've designed the website, we do get for those missions a little bit more of a feel of what you're getting into.
And when Thomas actually mentioned that, I actually told him, "Oh, hey, did you know that we just put out this online Foundry mission database?" So.
Awesome. I actually remembered a couple other conversations we had with random devs. We got to have a real fun conversation with Hector Ortiz, the concept art guy, about all of the starships, and he told us that originally the designs for the Vorgon ships were going to be the 26th century ships? Or 29th century? Or 31st?
I think it was the 26th century.
Something like that. One of those future ships. And then, you know, obviously things changed and they decided to go a different direction, but they kept those designs around. It was like, oh, you know, these could work for Oregon chips. And I won't even try to imitate his accent, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to listen to.
Yeah. and then they got talking about the the Kelvin timeline Romulan ship. You know, how to make it different and how the, you know, people were saying you gotta have spikes on it. It's like, no. The Narada is not the you know, the Narada is from the Prime timeline. We can't have spikes on it. So they take the you know, the normal sort of Romulan shape, like the Valdor, and cut the head off. So that was good. And then also I had a great fun conversation, like a little brainstorming session almost, with Maria Russo, who of course is Zeronius Rex, our Foundry queen.
Hail
and there
the
was
queen.
another dev there, and I'm totally horrible with names, so I don't remember. She'll probably correct me if it was. But we got talking about a Tribble Olympics. You know how you could have all kinds of games and events all based around tribbles. Like Tribble bowling and Tribble croquet, Tribble lawn darts, you know, try and hit the Tribble with the lawn dart. Tribble volleyball. You know, obviously, we, you know, totally could have been an awesome thing to have around the Rio Olympics here, but, you know, obviously there's no time for that. So, you know, maybe next Olympics.
So
yeah,
what about that?
She's saying she forgets who was there too.
So what about that couple that you met?
Oh God, that was hilarious. Okay, so for those of you who are not around, last time I went to STLV in 2014, there was this story where some of us on Saturday, which is the last day I was there, went out for a late dinner. It was after the Meet the Devs event, and let's see, Rogue Enterprise was there. Zorbane was there, and Rogue's then girlfriend, his now wife, was there, and Kirkfat was there. And we all sit down, and Rogue Enterprise gets up for drinks, and he comes back with this couple, a young couple who were just married. They were on their honeymoon at the convention, and they said they had been looking at our Foundry shirts and recognized our names. So we ended up getting, you know, just talking the night away with this couple. They were from back east, and they were just hilarious. It was like, you know, that where you sort of instantly click with people and just talk for hours. And so we're going back this year, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, wouldn't it be hilarious if they were there and met us again? And it turns out they were. So we did the Meet the Devs event at the iBar on Saturday this time. Or no, was it Friday? I believe it was Friday this time. And
yes.
This couple decides to just, you know, they knew this event was going on, so they decided to, on the off chance that we were there and they might meet up with us again, they stop by the bar and find us, and it's like, oh, this amazing coincidence after 2 years, when we had not, you know, communicated at all in the interim. And so we ended up hanging out with them again for another night, and it was great. It was just, you know, one of those amazing convention stories. Let's see. I don't know. Anything else from STLV you can think of?
I actually do. I got a chance to meet with Kate, one of the content designers for Stowe, and I actually asked her what tips she would offer to a Foundry author, and she actually gave 4 pieces of advice. She said, first off, is sketch out your levels ahead of time so that you can plan out how the mission will flow. The second thing was to white box first, so set up the level as it's going to play through first without any sort of detail to it, so that you can figure out how the pacing is going to work, whether something is just like too long or it's going to take too long, stuff like that. See, the third thing she said was keep it what she called keep it above the fold. And Drogyn, do you want to tell everyone what that means since you're the newspaper man?
Yes, what keep it above the fold means is, in newspaper parlance, your newspaper is folded in half for going in the mail, going on the newspaper racks, and what people will see as they are passing by is what is above that fold. So you want it to be eye-catching. You want it to be something that is interesting, that somebody will see walking by and make them want to buy the paper. So translating that into the Foundry, what do you think?
Keep it concise. Need to keep it on point. Stuff that can be read really quickly. I know we Foundry authors are a group who like to write very lengthy discussions. So it's kind of goes against our nature, but it's one of those things that we have to work on as far as keeping it smaller, more bite-sized, something that can be digested pretty easily and quickly.
Well, which is probably why we always advocate for optional dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last thing
that's something I've been going through my latest mission of just that process of trying to keep it as concise as possible. That's probably one of the harder ones to work through. Like planning stages, I think you can. There's different techniques about building a mission, and for me, I like to approach it more organically. But yeah, just working on what you're presenting to the player, like how you're doing that, what actually needs to get out there. And I've gone through some dialogues recently on my current project, and I've taken something that was like 13 options long and broken that down to 4. And that's just made those sections of the mission just flow so much better. So that's definitely one to stress. Let's just put it that way.
The final piece of advice that she gave was to have as many people as possible test your mission. And she, I mean, lots of people.
Yeah, that is very good advice.
So, yeah, I mean, so definitely some good advice. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never really considered doing a white box of a level before. I mean, and to the point where most of my maps are custom maps, so I'm generally in control of the layout. But just the case of setting, even if it's just like setting up a level with just building blocks. So you've got your layout set up, but you're not like bothering with any of the details yet. But you can still kind of figure out how the layout's going to be. How I mean, does it take too long to run down this corridor? So that's not something I've ever really tried before, but I may do in the future.
That's something I kind of do a little bit. I tend to get the walls in place and then start in on objectives and then flesh everything out as far as, room decorations and the little details and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I've been kind of doing the complete opposite of my recent builds, where I'll basically, like, it always varies, but for recently, I've basically been sort of progressing along a section of map, completing everything in that little section besides dialogue and objectives, but just all the detail, and then moving on. Because it's like, well, this isn't complete yet. I want to make sure I've got these detail bits in here because it's important to the setting, and then I just sort of move on.
Yeah, but I mean, especially in our case, because we have a very finite amount of stuff we can cram into a map. So making sure that the level is all the essentials are in there, I mean, is another good thing as far as
yeah.
Some of us only occasionally have.
Every single one of my maps right now in this mission project is filled with every level of
Why am I not
detail,
surprised?
building, and NPCs, and not only NPC individuals but NPC groups as well, because I've been having those do a little bit of double duty.
So when the load times are like absolutely insane, I'll know what's to blame.
Yeah, exactly.
All All right. Well, I think one final point I'll make on STLV, it's just an amazing experience, is one of the just sort of funny little things I was mentioning to Dragoon on, I think, like the last day, was how cool is it that, because one of the things you do is take pictures, photo ops with all of the tracked actors that you want to. And of course, was wearing my both the Foundry T-shirt that you designed and the Foundry Roundtable shirt that you designed. So our cool logo from our pokey little, very, very niche, low audience number show about a game is in the same photo with Captain Janeway and Captain Sulu. So how cool is that?
That's a great moment.
Yeah.
Yes. Captain Sulu endorsed by proximity.
Yes. Put that on there now. So, that it's just a fantastic experience. And don't feel like you have to go to the Las Vegas one. There's all kinds of conventions around the country, smaller ones, that the actors will show up to. Not just around the country, around the world too.
Yeah, and other events.
One in New York
just
going on soon.
Yeah, there's one in Chicago in September. But I also know that these guys will also do other types of events. So over the last year, I've actually seen a TNG reunion panel with the full cast and William Shatner. And I also saw a night of William Shatner by himself, doing kind of a streaming monologue, stand-up bit, and kind of life story thing over the course of 3 hours, which was pretty fantastic. But yeah, just look for what's out there, because that's kind of the continuing presence of a lot of the Star Trek, a lot of these series, is these people, just interacting, because there are, there's a lot of us out there that like to have these experiences, and will pay.
And if you just can't, well, there's obviously just living vicariously through us. My giant, we had the video earlier, and then we have my giant photo album full of pictures from the convention that anyone can take at.
Yes, which I still need to post my collection of photos, which I will do as soon as I get a chance to sort through and delete all the really crappy ones.
Mine are pretty raw. I did not delete very many, so you got a lot of. I just like to take multiple pictures. I'm a journalist in real life, and I do a lot of event coverage, and you just want to take tons of pictures. With digital cameras, there's no reason not to. I think I took about 550 while I was in Vegas.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, I did take a look at that full album, and I do like that almost kind of the stop motion feel to some of those actions. You get a little bit more
because
sense of presence.
with my camera, one of the things you can do is you can set the shutter to be on continuous. So if you just hold it down and just click, 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 and so you get some of those actions where you get them emoting and talking with their hands and things like that. So that was a fun thing to do. All right, so we have some news about Star Trek Discovery that happened while we were showing you that video. It's going to be set 10 years before Kirk takes command of the Enterprise. It's actually not going to focus on a captain. Apparently, this lead character, who's a female, is going to be a lieutenant commander. So that's interesting. He said that we have had 6 TV shows that have focused on a commander, focused on a captain. So why not something else? Sure, I'll buy that. Let's see what else.
I wonder if it's going to be something more of like a lower decks type of scenario where it's not actually the main bridge officers who are the focus, but the.
I really like that.
Yeah, I think that's quite interesting. So let's see. The quote is, "The story that is fascinating for me is we've seen 6 series from Captain's point of view. To see different characters from different perspectives, we thought it would give us different contexts. A different dynamic and a relationship to the crew. For her to truly understand something alien, she has to understand herself, and her journey will teach her how to get along with others in the galaxy. I haven't cast her yet, so we don't know what level of diversity she will be. Let's see. There are so it's set before TOS, but not a lot before. So you won't get events like the Battle of Axanar or the Earth-Romulan War, or maybe like if there was an actual real-life Kobayashi Maru that happened, we probably won't be seeing that. It's referenced specifically here. But it says we're closer to Kirk's universe than that of Archer's, so we get to play around with all of the TOS era iconography and those ships and uniforms.
So, funny thing, 10 years, that would have been the year of the launch of the Enterprise. Because they were supposed to be Robert April.
Robert April, yes. So that's interesting. Let's see. He says, expect robots and a few more aliens than usual. I think probably because we can do more aliens now than we could say in the 60s.
True. But there's still a television budget.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Further hinted that, or Fuller hinted that the character of Amanda Grayson, Spock's mother, may factor into Discovery at some point. It's not impossible. And it says it's not impossible that Section 31 may come in.
Amanda Grayson is unusually specific.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Spock's mother.
I actually know about her, other than being married to Sarek.
I'm going to make a Section 31 connection and say that she's the head of some kind of dark syndicate. It's going to be the main villain through the through the new show.
Spock's mom.
That's a hell of a guess there.
Yeah, it's internet speculation day one, so hey, go with it. Go full out.
But it would be interesting, I mean, because there are obviously characters that we can meet that are canon characters from that time frame, and canon characters that we've never met, like Robert April, the original captain of the Enterprise.
Yeah, I mean, he's never actually been played by anybody. It was from the original story that Gene Roddenberry wrote.
Yeah. And, people like Garth of Izar or Christopher Pike, for one.
Yeah, a very young Christopher Pike.
Yeah, a young Christopher Pike. So let's see here. What else we got? It's going to be 13 episodes. Obviously, we've had a lot of news come out about the distribution of it. It's going to be on CBS All Access, and then, of course, they did a deal outside of North America for streaming on Netflix, which I'm very jealous of. But
actually, you're correct. He did appear in a episode of TAS, but obviously he wasn't really played by an actor. I guess, had a voice actor, but he was an animated character.
Yeah. So that'll be very interesting. One thing, obviously, we've got lots of TOS themed stuff going on in Stowe right now. I think it will take a while, and probably not until the series is released, but that means maybe we could see some interesting stuff in Star Trek Online.
Especially with AOI, it's basically like, hey, we can actually go and revisit this time period. So if we get, say, a bunch of new designs and assets, new guest stars,
shows up again, and hey, look, we got to take you back again. So
I forgot, I left something back here. Go find it.
Hey, if we can make it into the Kelvin timeline, I think this should be a cakewalk.
Yeah, I think that'd be easy. All right. So we've obviously talked a lot about what many of us were doing this past week. So, Duncan, what have you been doing this past week? All of us were fine.
I've been working on a new mission. So completely new, not Starfleet Security. Well, kind of. But it's a follow-up to Apex, my AEI mission. So I set up a lot of stuff there, and I figured that, you know what, I was thinking about, well, I might pay this off eventually. I was like, well, I might as well just pay this off now. So I'm working on a continuation of that. So the thing you bring back is completely revealed, and why that's important, what's going on with there, and what's the entire plot. Yeah, I go into that as well. So right now I've got, basically this is a very different way I usually build my missions. I've basically been going from the start and working almost sequentially through the mission. So I've actually got like the first 2 maps done, except for some optional dialogue, and I've got some screenshots on those. But yeah, new mission, AEI. It's going to be, of course, set in the Archer system. It's also a 2-parter like Trident, and it's also got about the same scale. Since my last few missions were a little bit shorter, a little bit more concise, say more focused, and these ones are just going completely out on a new setting.
Want to show any of these photos that you sent me?
Yeah, and sequence too. I think would work best because that's kind of the chronology there of the maps I've got. So I'm working on a new custom interior for Starbase Magellan, a revisit to a type of station that you encounter in another AEI mission, Eons. And then lastly, I've got a planet, and that's all I'm going to say about that one. I tried as much as possible not to use Aurora Pente again for a ground map, but I had to kind of go with it by default because it had just the right specifications I needed for this environment. So yep, the first screenshot there is the thing from Apex. It has opened up, and the thing that got out made a really big hole in the wall. So yeah, these are the missions, and this is the mission. It's going to be a 2-parter, and it's going to resolve everything.
Right.
Why don't I believe you?
Okay, so it's basically like it's
only 2 parts. Come on.
It's only 2 parts, but keep in mind I'm kind of going all out with the setting a little bit. And yeah, this is it's only 2 parts, but there's been a lot that's already been sort of set up in Trident and Eons and in Apex. So it's basically like, okay, I got everything set up for what to do there. And there's a couple of key references, especially in Trident, that are just kind of like, oh, this is kind of what everything is, what's happening. But then there's some new stuff too, like something completely new. I do something to the universe, and it's fun. But at any rate, though, it's just it's ready for a punchline, and I figured out a good plot for that punch to get that out there. So hopefully I'll have that out in the reasonably near future. I do tend to build quickly, but I'm letting this one be as expansive as it needs to be. So I know I at least have 2 more maps to build, and including the last open exterior, which is literally half completed. Like I've gone halfway down the valley with full detail, and I'm just kind of working my way up. So new characters, let's see, some returning stuff. And it's worth also pointing out that there is some stuff from my latest Starfleet Security which related to AEI, which I'll be finishing up as well. So you may see the Creed again, you may see him and Ith from previous AEI missions, and you'll also maybe see some other characters and factions and species. And that's it.
I'm definitely liking that you're doing more AEI missions, and I hope that other authors are encouraged to do the same, just because having a nice collection there is like really cool.
Yeah, and
I really need to buckle down and finish mine.
I wish I could say something about more about this, but I've got a really good bit for Captain Mercer. So it's a great crew, and I've really liked going back to that for the Starbase Magellan interior and involving them a little bit in the later plot. But it's just you got this really good feeling of kind of going back and continuing on with things. Like the first thing that I can say this because it's the first thing that happens. You walk in, you go to Starbase Magellan. They've got this brand new section opened up for diplomatic receptions, which justifies why, hey, we've got a new part that wasn't shown in the previous section. It's newly retrofitted. And you walk over to this reception area, and it's just the crew is talking. It's Takuv and Captain Mercer are showing off a pool table they've made, or someone has made. I still haven't decided exactly who. It might be Romaine who put it together. But it's just kind of this nice little character thing. And I've now, with this mission, I've used every single AEI character, at least as background. As it. So I was able to get Drogyn in there.
He's an alcoholic, by the way. Well, he's an alcoholic.
He happens to be over by the bar.
I guess you can't. I guess you can't really be a synthaholic, can you?
No, well, you can do it
Unless
just
you're Borg.
Yeah, it's strength of personal initiative. Just like, I'm just gonna keep drinking this. I have no physiological need to, but I'm gonna make a point of it.
The follow-up to Under Gray Skies, which is the mission where you meet him initially, is going to include, or will at some point when I finish the mission, include a scene where you have to go basically rescue him from the bar and get him back to work. So, yeah.
So I just in general, I just highly recommend taking another look at these characters. So if you've made an AEI mission or haven't made one yet, kind of go back there, because there is that really nice feeling of using these people again. It's kind of like it is that kind of that little bit that, as much as we can have for Foundry authors, that feeling of coming home, not just in the fact that we've done continuations of our own characters, but we've seen these people in other contexts through other missions.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like getting to write for Deep Space Nine or something like
that. Yeah.
So we talked to a number of people about the AEI project at Las Vegas. One of them was Timberwolf, who had actually just completed a video playthrough of one of the missions, which he was really enthused about. He just loved playing all of them. In fact, he thought they were all great. And then, which I have seen a link. We'll try and get a link to that.
Yeah, it's Shades of Intrigue was the mission he played.
Yeah, Shades of Intrigue.
I also saw him play through Apex as well. So he's done a few of those, or at least two.
And then the other person we talked to about it is you and I did, Dragoon, if you remember, was Salami Inferno.
Yes.
At the dev event. Which was very loud, and there was drinks of a strong nature there, so he may not remember. Who knows? But anyway, the people that we have talked to about that, and I've also done some recommending. People were asking for Foundry recommendations on Reddit, and I've put that forward, and we've been getting a great response to it. So I think it really turned out into an excellent project.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't be happier with how the whole AEI initiative is kind of worked out.
I just hope I never have to write an encyclopedia entry for what I've created for across my AEI missions.
Not even sure you were required to do that the first time.
Well, no, but it just kind of is that feeling of like, it'd be really cool to get
for that, though?
A good review of the entire project would actually be to sort of treat it like, give it its own little Star Trek encyclopedia bit. Because we're now sort of building up as many episodes as you sort of typically see for that. And I don't know, it could be an interesting sort of follow-up project once we get a little bit more distance.
Could certainly be. I always like figuring out tie-in things that you could do outside of the Foundry, or outside of the game even, that link back into your Foundry missions. So that can be a lot of fun. Let's see. Kind of one last thing I wanted to mention tonight is that I do a little brief mission review, because before I left, I played Invictus by Admiral Aaron, which is a good, fun mission that I definitely recommend. Unfortunately, most of Star Trek Las Vegas has blanked it out from my memory. So I will try and bring up a few things. His missions are an interesting style, and this is the first one I've played of his. But knowing him a little bit from Twitter, I kind of guess that they're probably all like this. A lot of them are sort of an extension of his personal sort of RP persona and the people that he knows in that persona. So he himself is in the mission to quite a good extent, and so are people that he knows, like Captain Jan and that sort of thing. But it is a fun mission, and it has an interesting plot. It's very complex. The mission builds, the map builds are really good. There's including a cool nightclub with lots of smoke and lasers going everywhere. It's very 70s. And then there's a fantastic space map, which you get to spend a lot of time in, where you have to defend the evacuation of the space station, which is in another dimension. It's hidden in another dimension, which is kind of a cool concept. Unfortunately, he destroys it, so there's no going back to that. But it was a very unique looking space map, and I just really I loved taking a screenshot in there. So shout out to Admiral Aaron's new mission Invictus. Give it a try.
So that is actually his third mission in a series?
At least, yeah. Well, I don't think this one was quite integral into the series. I think it was a little bit more standalone. I think it continued some through threads that he had, but it wasn't exactly a direct sequel to anything.
I know there was Adrift, and then there was another one.
Yeah. Pax is saying fourth.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then maybe I'm... Okay.
All right.
And I'll just jump in here as well, because I just played it this morning.
You probably remember it a little bit more than I do.
Yep.
So
it's
got 10 minutes talk.
Okay, so it's got this really complex arc, and I think it's really sort of best to let it sort of present itself. So the one thing I'll say is that it does have sort of it has a really interesting style where it does have this sort of very strong narrative, but it also does have a lot of action. And generally, you'll see for a Foundry mission that it leans more heavily on one or the other. This is sort of, it felt like an extreme version of both. So it's not just that it's it's story focused or combat focused. It really just felt like it's this almost intense mission, but it was just a lot of fun, a lot of great builds. What struck me is the holodeck section.
Yes,
the build on that one, I just loved.
There's parts of that where I was thinking, how did he do this? And for me, because I'm a veteran of almost the very beginning of the Foundry, for me to say that is really telling you something.
There's the one transition that sort of stands out most. That one that got me. It's like, I see how he did this, but I personally could not commit myself to building that whole thing out. So there's some really great stuff there, some good character stuff. If anything, there's a few plot points which kind of seem to ratchet things up, but not necessarily, you could sort of moved around it. And I definitely don't want to say what these were, because these are big spoiler bits. And there's only one that really kind of stuck me. I was like, well, you didn't necessarily need to go that way, but okay, that's perfectly fine. I mean, nothing's a deal breaker. It's a really good mission. Let's see. There is a lot of reading, and I think that's kind of the only disclaimer that you would really need for this one. And that's just because the style of the mission is as such. So you get these big blocks of story. But then that's easily compensated for just by the high intensity combat sections. So yeah, Invictus, definitely go check it out. It's up it's one of our first really high profile Delta Quadrant missions too.
Yeah, definitely. Probably one of the first to show up in the top 3 out in the Delta Quadrant. It's at the Kiana system.
Yeah, that's actually how I pulled it up. I was like, I could go search for this because I know where it is, so I just flew over there. It's like, Invictus.
All right. So I've got one last thing to do tonight. I persuaded the devs to give me a few extra codes for the convention rewards, which is a holographic bridge crew of all of the TOS bridge officers except for Captain Kirk. So I'm going to give one away, and then I'm going to keep a couple in my hat to give away as prizes for something in the future. Come up with that later. So I have eliminated, of course, everyone in the chat room who was at Star Trek Las Vegas, because if they didn't get a code there, well, you're kind of out of luck. And I am rolling the dice now.
Do we need any kind of? I was gonna say just some kind
drum roll.
of
Drum roll, please.
Drum roll. Prize music. No, Price is Right.
No. We don't stand on ceremony here, so I'll just say the winner. The winner is Colonel Obvious.
Ooh.
One of our relatively new listeners, but I know he definitely likes to come on the show and is a big Twitter presence. So, Colonel Obvious, congratulations, and I will send you a PM with code on Twitter. And yes, somebody exploded here. Bar.
I've not used that on a social map, and I was like, well, did they really kind of go for the full effect? And it so sorry about that.
So obviously there will be we will be having some more opportunities to win a couple of these codes, and there's others floating around. Loot Critter has a whole bunch that he's going to be giving away in a contest, so check that one out too. I can say that these holographic bridge officers are pretty cool. So I think that will do for us tonight, gentlemen. So
one announcement before we go is we are not going to be able to do a roundtable next week because I will be out on vacation.
You just went on vacation.
I know, and I get to go on another one.
Well, lucky you.
So yeah, I won't be available next week, and unfortunately, none of these guys have learned how to do the live stream in my absence. So
I can do shadow puppets in my room, but I don't think that broadcasts well to a general audience.
Well, maybe we'll.
It's getting the shadow puppets out to the internet that's the hard part.
Maybe I can, just what I can actually do. I can take pictures of the puppet show and put that on Twitter, and people can then download those pictures and stream through really quickly.
Yeah.
Zero can do a live stream.
Yeah, we'll have Zero do a live stream. Maybe we can join her and do funny voices.
Ooh. You can do funny voices. I think I prohibit myself from doing more funny voices because I did one on her live stream and I think I went a little over the top.
That is not possible on her live stream.
I can only do voices at imitating other people who are around me. So
I've watched enough Monty Python that I can do a few attempts. And there was one where I basically nearly killed myself. But I was like, no, I'm going to keep going through this paragraph, and that was great. That was great.
Anyway, so we'll figure out maybe something fun this week as well. Maybe Zero will help us out.
Okay.
But for now, Dragoon, if you want to put up our contact info.
Sure thing. We can be reached by email at foundryroundtable@live.com. We are also on Twitter at foundryroundtab. Drogyn can be reached at Drogyn1701. DuncanIdaho can be reached at Gorgonops_SSF. Mark can be reached at Markhawkman. I, of course, can be reached at Greendragoon.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us, and thanks Dragoon for making that awesome video.
Yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah.
And is that going to be available separately on YouTube as well?
Yeah. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably put the show out Monday, and then maybe put the interview out by itself Tuesday.
Oh, I think you can put the interview out right away. I mean, there's no reason to wait.
All right.
I think so. I think just go ahead and release that for anyone and everyone to watch.
All right.
All right. Well, for the moment, we will say goodnight.
Good night.